I had the privilege of working for almost 30 years with Stuart Bergmann, and it was a lot of fun. I'd like to begin by, first of all, thanking everyone for being here tonight. I know it means a lot to the Bergmann family. I'd like to share with you a little bit about Stu's life and hopefully some good stories. As you may know, Stu grew up on a farm here in Wisconsin, the youngest of 11 kids. I think he developed his tenacity fighting for food at every meal. He told me that when he was younger, his brothers would get into fights and kick holes into the walls. And after a while, his mom, remember that? After a while, his mom gave up repairing the holes and started sticking plastic flowers in there. And when the seasons changed, she put different decorations in these holes. And I think what this taught Stu was, don't sweat small stuff. Well, Stu graduated from the University of Wisconsin, and from that time on, he was a die-hard Badger fan, right? His golf clubs had Badger head covers. His dog's name is Badger. His son's room is a shrine to Wisconsin. I bet you anything he had at least one pair of Badger underwear. Stu started working for the Boy Scouts in 1984 in a little podunk town called Kankakee, Illinois. He worked for a guy named Jack Johnson, and the rest, as they say, is history. I first met Stu 3 years later when he was transferred to the Chicago Area Council, and we've been best friends ever since. All the cool people worked in Chicago at that time, right, Lisa? Including the young Lisa Salop. How Stu worked it out that Lisa got to report to him was a testament to the tenacity he learned fighting for every meal as a child. From there, Stu worked his way up the ladder in scouting until he finally became the scout executive here in the Southeast Wisconsin Council. We worked together at 3 different councils along the way, and I found Stu to be an amazing professional and amazing person. Because of this history, my wife and I feel like we've known Stu and Lisa forever. Since before they were married and through the birth of all of our kids, the 4 of us get along so well because Stu and my wife Kathy have the same personality. And Lisa and I have similar personalities. So Kathy could always tell Lisa where Stu was coming from and vice versa. Kathy used to call Stu my work wife because his personality and mine complemented each other. When I was all uptight and crabby, Stu would be all loose and carefree. When I was all task-oriented and serious, Stu would be people-oriented and fun. When I was all, let's drive the speed limit, I didn't have to say anything. Stu was like, let's make up some time. At home, when I want to worry too much or I'm saying things that maybe aren't so tactful, my wife has a way of keeping things light. And we always loved the way that Stu could do the same for Lisa, just by saying her name in a certain way. Like Lisa might say, Stu, you lost both kids from the hotel room? What an idiot! And Stu would just say, Lisa. We heard him say her name like that a million times. Like, Stu, why did you let our 12-year-old drive the car? Are you crazy? And he'd say, Lisa. Stu, how could you break the brand new TV trying to move it by yourself from the car on a rolling desk chair? Are you clueless? Lisa. You remember that? That was a big screen TV for a short time. We always knew that when he said, Lisa, that way, what he was really saying was, relax, don't worry so much. It'll all work out. And he did the same thing for me at work. He kept me and all of us from going crazy over the small stuff. Now, I'm not sure we'd all agree that losing the kids is small stuff, but that was Stu. Well, whenever we'd go to the same conference, we'd usually share a room. And our wives would always be joking, should we be jealous? And of course, we'd always say no, but now that I think of it, he never told me I played too much golf. He never complained when I smoked cigars. He was a great poker player. He loved to go fishing. Maybe it was a match made in heaven. Well, if you've ever ridden with Stu, that you know he had some unique driving habits. All right? We used to say that when it came to driving, Stu had double vision. He would look at the speed limit sign and just double it. Sometimes we think he had triple vision. Well, everyone has their own ideas about what constitutes wasting time. A lot of times at work I'd hear Stu on the phone talking to people in his office, building relationships or caring about others. And I'd sometimes wonder if he was wasting time. But I'll never forget the time that we were going golfing, surprise, and straight from work. And we left the office with our business suits on and driving separately. We pulled up late for our tee time, and I jumped out of the car, and I was looking for a place to change into my golf clothes. I turn around, and Stu jumps out of the car, completely changed. And I'm like, dude, you changed your clothes at 70 miles an hour? And he just said, I didn't want to waste time. My wife told me not to tell this story, but several of Stu's brothers and sisters have asked me to tell this, and I said, no, I can't say it. But then Stu's mom told me I need to tell this story. Father's Day in Topeka, Kansas, our wives decided that their gift to us on Father's Day was that Stu and I could go out and play golf. So we go out, beautiful Sunday afternoon. The course was packed. Everybody was playing slow. And about 3 holes into it, this group behind us starts hitting their drives right into our group. They were obnoxious. And we played about 3 or 4 holes that way. And the next thing we know, one of these guys from the group behind us comes up and he makes some wise crack to Stu. And Stu, of course, being the mild-mannered guy he is, made some comment back to him. Next thing we know, this guy, who's about 1 foot taller than Stu and at least 100 pounds on him, is thumping his chest against Stu. A second later, boom, the guy is on the ground. Stu's got him in some kind of wrestling hold. And he said, all right, have you had enough? We called it the Father's Day Massacre. And we think it was a couple of years before Lisa really found out how Stu sprained his wrist that day. She just found out now. Well, even though he teased her a lot, it was always obvious to us that Stu was completely devoted to Lisa. Stu, Lisa, Kathy and I had many wild and fun times together, but the best by far was the time we went to Puerto Rico. It was a Boy Scout conference, and at first the wives didn't want to go. They didn't want to leave the kids. Lisa had 2 little ones at home and then the 2 older kids. We had 2 teenagers at home, which posed its own set of challenges. But the conference was a short one, so we convinced them we'd go down on a Thursday night. We'd stay Friday, Saturday. We'd say Thursday, Friday, we'd be back by Saturday. And certainly that would be enough time, for us to be gone and be back before the kids even knew it. Well, they reluctantly agreed to join us. We get down to Puerto Rico. We go to about the 2 hours worth of meetings, and the rest of the time it was great. The warm weather, the beach, the sun, the drinks. But then Friday night, as we were packing up to go, disaster struck. A snowstorm hit the Northeast. All the airports were closed. And the girls freaked. We're stranded away from our babies. Stu and I just looked at each other and said, thank God we have our golf clubs. Well, Lisa was frantic and she begged Stu to get her home. So Stu got on the phone right away to the airlines and he dialed and he dialed and he dialed, and finally about 10 o'clock he got through. And the recording on the phone said, "Thank you for calling. Your call will be handled in the order it was received. Your wait time is approximately 7 hours." Now, a lesser man would have hung up the phone. I would have hung up the phone. I did hang up the phone, didn't I? But not Stu. He lay in his bed all night long with that phone by his ear, listening to that recording until finally an operator came on at about, 5:30, 6 in the morning. And Stu got the last 2 tickets out of San Juan, Puerto Rico. Well, Stu and I made the ultimate sacrifice. And we decided if there are only 2 tickets, both the wives should go home to be with the kids, and we would stay behind for 3 more days in the sun, golfing, swimming, drinking, maybe a little, and worrying about our families the whole time. It really was one of the best trips we had. Now, in the Boy Scouts, they're always giving you training to be a better manager of people, and they give you personality tests and that type of thing. Well, once I had to take a test, and part of it was you had to list 10 people who, if they left, if they were gone, you would miss them. These are people who would really leave a hole in your life if they were no longer here. Later, I told Stu about the test, and he said jokingly, "Was I on the list?" And I had to say honestly, "Stu, you were on the list. You're the only non-family member on my list of 10 people." I went home that night, I told Kathy about it, and she asked the same question. "Am I on your list?" And I said, "Oh, if only there were 11 spots." So close. No, just joking. She was on there somewhere, right?
I was on there somewhere.
Well, I received several emails this week from people who worked with Stu, and overwhelmingly, they all described him as a mentor. Several of them mentioned the Stuisms, certain sayings that Stu used to kind of get his point across. One of them was, "Every tub sits on its own bottom." You ever heard that one? We heard it a lot. Or another one, "Money on the wood makes the betting go good." Or my favorite was his advice to the single guys around the office, which was, "You can marry more money in 15 minutes than you can make in a lifetime." Sorry. Well, one of the guys who was impacted by Stu was a guy named Bill McCahill, who worked with Stu in Chicago. He's now a Scout executive in New York. And Bill sent me an email where he reflected that, "I never saw Stu when he wasn't smiling. Stu just seemed to have more endorphins than most people, and he released endorphins to all those around him. He truly loved life, and that spirit was contagious." You know, I'm not the greatest at keeping up friendships. It's a lot of work. We're all busy. But with Stu, it was never hard to stay friends. I would always be picking up the phone and asking his advice or giving mine, whether he wanted it or not. Whenever there was a conference coming up, I'd give him a call, or he'd call me, and we would see if we could split a room or get in early to play some golf. We got to do so many great things together through the Boy Scouts. He was always the guy I could pick up the phone to call with the latest gossip or with some sad news about a friend or a coworker. Something big or small would happen, and I would reach for the phone to call Stu. I thought it would be like that forever. And I know that for the rest of my life, whenever something happens, I will instinctively reach for the phone and call Stu. But from now on, I guess I'll have to call him in my heart and in my mind. But I'll still be calling him. To close, I'd like to share a poem and dedicate it to Stu. On Wisconsin. On Wisconsin, stand up, Badgers, sing. Forward is our driving spirit, loyal voices ring. On Wisconsin, raise her glowing flame. Stand, fellows, let us now salute her name. Stu, we love you, we'll miss you, and we salute you tonight.